All right, welcome to the Hutchinson County podcast. Today is July the 11th, 2025. My guest today is Deidra Thomas, Public Engagement Coordinator and Communications for the City of Borger. Today's episode brought to you by the High Plains Observer, where the community news comes first, and the Borger News Herald, proudly reporting on life in our corner of Texas since 1926. Deidre, thank you for the time.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
That's no problem here. We'll start. I sent you the questions in advance, and we'll go ahead and get started. Can you tell us about your background and how you came into your role with the City of Borger?
Yeah, so I actually have a background in finance. I worked for corporate banking for about 12 years. And my branch here in Borger closed down in 2018. So I ended up transferring to a different branch and managed a branch in Amarillo. And honestly, just making that drive every day, 6 days a week for 4 years was really tough. I have 3 kids at home, so missing out on a lot of stuff kind of led me to just explore what other options, we had here in town. And I actually came across a posting for, it was actually Nicole's position for the Dome Civic and Convention Center. And I thought, wow, that's really cool that the city's taken initiative to actually bring on some different positions within the organization, and went about it that way. And eventually they posted this position. And so I applied for it, and here I am.
Very good. So we'll talk about your current job you have. What exactly does a public engagement coordinator and communications manager, that's a mouthful in itself right there, manager do from day to day?
It really is a mouthful. Really the meat and potatoes of what I do is just, or at least try to do, is to bridge the gap between the organization of the City of Borger and the actual City of Borger as the community. Really the job is focused on building trust and fostering transparency through all of our initiatives, but also making sure that the messages we're pushing out aren't just being heard, they're being understood, and that the community in turn feels seen, they feel valued, they feel heard, and there's, just really opening up different lines of communication for them to engage with us. It's kind of a twofold position, because you have the engagement piece of it, but then you also have kind of the communication side. So that's internal, external communications, social media, websites, our app, crisis communications, press releases. So it really covers a multitude of things for sure.
Very good. So, what is the most rewarding part of your job?
Honestly, just seeing our community kind of be more engaged with the things that we're doing. And I feel like we're trying very hard to increase, all of our residents' quality of life. And so seeing them come out and enjoy our events and, bring their families and their friends and their kids, but also seeing them engage more with us in the public, and whether that's on social media or them coming to council meetings and things like that, but really just having people take a more proactive step towards, their local government, rather than just griping in the background and not being part of the solution, if that makes any sense.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Open communication. I totally get that. That kind of leads into our next question. How does the City of Borger communicate currently with residents, social media, newsletters, websites, etc.?
I like to joke and say we try to cover every method of communication aside from a literal winged pigeon. We have social media, so you have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. We also have our websites. We have an app. So if you don't know that we have an app, you can go to the App Store, whatever type of phone you have, and it's just Borger TX. We post events, updates, news, you name it on there. But we also, we know that not everybody's on social media. Nobody really, if they don't like social media, they still need to get their news somehow. So we have a quarterly newsletter that goes out in our utility bills. We post flyers. We try to partner with a lot of different organizations and third parties to help us spread the word. We do a lot of word of mouth. I mean, really, we try to cover every aspect that we possibly can.
So, what has been the most successful engagement initiatives you've helped lead?
Let's say Boomtoberfest. We're going on our third year of hosting it, and I feel like it's something that everybody, likes to be a part of. They like to come out and watch the cars on Friday night. They like to be a part of whatever's going on at the airport on Saturday morning. They like to come out and watch the bands, Saturday night. And then, of course, Sunday is kind of Sunday fun day for their family. So it covers all the bases of all the different demographics, all the different age groups. And it really, people always at the end of it, they're waiting for next year. They're excited for the next year. So that's definitely a big one. But also, I would say Citizens Academy. We just started doing that this year. We hosted our first Citizens Academy, which was an 8-week academy that was started out in January. And it really kind of gives you a bigger insight into local government, the inner workings of things like that. So how we come up with the budget, what the budget looks like, how we spend money, what the audit process looks like, and all of that good stuff. And it gives you a platform to ask questions on, which we loved. We had a group of about 20 or so individuals that showed up, and I mean, they had nothing but positive things to say. So going forward, we're definitely going to host that again. I don't know if you've ever done Leadership Borger, or if you're familiar with Leadership Borger, but it's very similar to that, but it's just focused on, the departmental side of the City of Borger. But we're also going to host that again, I would say, I think this fall, and we're going to try to live stream it. So if people aren't able to attend in person, they can go back and, see it online and watch it at their convenience.
Okay, yes, I've seen the promos from City of Borger and everything about the leadership, and known some people that went through that program. Very good program, and very good interactive, and people to kind of give back and have get some leadership training. Very good stuff y'all got going on down there at the City of Borger.
Yeah, and I mean, it gives you the opportunity to ask questions and ask fact-finding questions at that, to really get the answers you need, versus just to come up with things that you think is being, that you think's going on, but that's not really usually the case. So, and I mean, if anything, it's just an initiative to reinforce the idea that when you give people a seat at the table and communicate with honesty and creativity, they kind of show up and they get involved and they help move the community forward in it. So
okay, this next one, I obviously know what it is, and anybody that was around during the wildfires last year knows about this. How do you handle communicating during emergencies or critical public updates? But I'll just kind of let you tell the story from when the fires broke out and when you had to basically jump into action and start getting these updates in and kind of getting that information out to the community, and kind of what the hours you worked during that time frame, because it seemed like every time I even scrolled through Facebook, there was a live and you were doing it and everything. So kind of take us the story about that.
Yeah, I mean, we unfortunately we're not immune to having any types of crisis around here. In fact, I feel like we have them too frequently. But, really, when that happened, I'm very fortunate with the relationship that I have with our first responders and our department heads, especially in emergency management. But I'm also very, as a community, we're very fortunate to have the people in place that we have. They're very knowledgeable. They're calm, cool, and collective, and they know what to do and when to do it. But on the 27th, man, that just went, any plan of action I had, really kind of went out the window. We had so many warnings going out, and we were trying to update the community as quickly as possible. And so on Facebook, there's something called a local alert that, as a government entity, I can set a local alert, and it basically pushes whatever message I'm trying to push out. It forces it into everybody's algorithm, so everybody's newsfeed, so everybody will see it. Now, whether they engage with it, is one thing, but everybody at least will see it. But you can only do so many of those in a 24-hour period. So I was trying to utilize that, but we were having so many warnings and evacuation notices going out at once. And in tandem, I mean, we're doing social media, but in tandem, we're still pushing out iPause alerts. We're pushing out WIA alerts, using Everbridge. So we're trying to use every channel we possibly can to push out these alerts. But I mean, there was just so many going out at once. So finally, towards the end of the night, I just thought, between Fritch, between Borger, between county residents, people out in Meadowlark, but also people out in Stinnett, they probably don't know which way is up. They don't know what's going on. The roadways are closed. They're getting all of these messages. We've got to do something where they can see my face and I can kind of walk them through at least what I'm seeing. We were also getting a lot of messages where people thought we were just, joking with them. I guess they thought we were overreacting. They didn't think that the entire county was on fire, and very upset that we were evacuating people from their homes and it was pointless. And so finally that also was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, where I was like, look, people need to see what we're seeing here. And so I worked with Jerry Langwell and Jason Whistler. Jerry at the time was the emergency management coordinator for the county as a whole. And then, of course, Jason Whistler is our emergency management coordinator here at the City of Borger. And something that people don't really realize is when we have a countywide emergency or a crisis, like the wildfires or a tornado or something of that nature, the City of Borger is actually the emergency operations center. We have the equipment, we have the space, and so everybody kind of just gathers there. So I was fortunate enough to gather with everybody when they were able to get there and kind of debrief. And I thought, okay, people need to see the fact that Fritch is still on fire. There's fire on the roadways. They need to see what's going on, and we need to be able to tell them at least what to expect from where we're at right now.
Yeah,
so that's kind of how that.
Go ahead.
That's kind of how that spiraled. Like I said, the easiest way to get the message out was just to kind of show people. And so I kept doing that as long as I could. And I feel like it grabbed their attention a little bit more than just a Facebook post, depending upon whatever circumstance we had. They could kind of tell in my voice, the seriousness that they needed to heed. So that's really how that came about. It's very embarrassing in hindsight. So I'm like, oh my goodness, that I looked like a wild woman for that whole month, it seems like.
Well, as I said, the picture that's actually displayed right now, it doesn't even look nothing like what you had on the live. You actually had glasses on, a baseball cap, a jacket, which most political figures, when they go to a disaster, that's kind of the look they have. I've rolled my sleeves up. I'm right there with you and getting after it. It was greatly appreciated and helped a lot, because we don't hope we never see. We basically had two simultaneous fires in the county on opposite sides of the county.
Yes.
And it was a bad disaster. I'm out here tonight, out here at Scotts Acres, my mom's house. She was fortunate, but her neighbors weren't. But we've been through this 2 times in 2 years, had to evacuate this neighborhood and had to get her out. And we sit on the side of the road for 4 or 5 hours and don't know what happened. It was hard. And that was on times 100. Fritch got hit way worse. Scotts Acres, we lost about 20 homes out here, and they were simultaneous on the same day. It's a lot of information. I had people hit me up. What do you know? What do you know, Jason? I'm not communicating with anybody. I can just tell you what I see in Stinnett. This road is closed. This road is closed. But what's going on south of the river, I don't know. Watch the City of Borger. I actually shared your live a bunch of different places. That seemed like the centralized area for information, and you did a good job getting that out to people. Everything. So we'll move on to some happier stuff. I mean, that's everything. Nothing that. But we'll talk about what are some of the biggest communication challenges facing small cities like Borger.
I think really, I mean, we're a smaller city, but we're not small enough to where, it's easy to kind of to gain the attention that you need. And it's really just a challenge to kind of reach people where they are. We have a diverse population, and some residents prefer Facebook, others rely on word of mouth, and some may not engage with digital platforms at all. So trying to figure out a system that works. And really in my case, I try to use a multi-system approach to just try to meet people where they're at. But it's also twofold. deal because, I mean, communication is defined as, basically a two-way street. So in order for communication to be effective, there has to be two ways, And so for the people that, they're kind of off the grid, they don't really like social media, they don't like apps, they don't like, an alerting system like Everbridge. It's really tough to encourage those types of people to seek the information from us, to find a revenue or an avenue that makes sense to them and that they're comfortable with to use, but also to seek that information from us. We have people all the time tell us, well, I didn't know this was happening. You don't advertise very well. You don't tell, nobody knows this is happening. I'm like, well, that's odd because the reel I posted got 40,000 views. So I know people are seeing it, but it may just not be you. So again, it's just kind of a two-way street. So I would definitely say that's the biggest challenge I have, is just trying to educate people and encourage them to, to seek us out. If they don't want to utilize any of the channels that we have, to at least seek us out for information.
I know the biggest game changer, I've lived in Borger for about 20 years. I grew up in Stinnett. But the City of Borger remodeling that dome, that definitely was a game changer on getting events in the town, making Borger look more appealing. That there alone was a big game changer for the City of Borger, just in my opinion. A lot more
sure.
events. We couldn't hardly have anything at the dome, and now it's got all kinds of stuff going on every weekend. And the app is actually a very good tool if you want to keep up with what's going on the weekends. That app has a lot of information on it, the City of Borger app, and it's free to download.
Yeah, for sure. And we try to put not just our events on there. If we find community events that are out there publicly, we'll put those on there as long as, the event holder is comfortable with that. But we try to share stuff for the city of Fridge, Lake Meredith, Stinnett. I mean, anything that is local that our community would enjoy. What's good for Fridge and Stinnett is good for Borger, and what's good for Borger is good for Fridge and Stinnett. So, I mean, people can also email us. They can Facebook message us. They can call us. They can tell us, hey, I have this going on. Would you put it on the community calendar? It's free to do that. And so, I mean, we look forward to putting more events on the calendar so people can see that there is something to do.
Okay, our next question. And I had a couple of people reach out to me. What community projects or improvements are currently in the works for Borger, which they kind of pointed about this new sports complex and what you know about it. And if you don't know, where can they find this information on what's going on with that sports complex?
Yeah, I honestly don't know much other than what the general public knows, because there is NDAs that have been signed, and it definitely is an EDC project. So the EDC is a part of the City of Borger, and we work with them, but they are governed kind of separately by their board, and then the council oversees that. So it's not that our city council and the EDC board members don't know what's going on. But like I said, I believe there's NDAs that have been signed, so they can't necessarily release certain aspects of it. From what I do know, I can share that they are in the platting stage of pre-construction. So they've been working with planning and development on platting the areas out at the Enterprise Park. I don't know why I lost my train of thought there, but so they've been actively working on that. I know, people are very skeptical of it, and rightfully so. I mean, I get it. I really do. But I think a lot of people don't realize how much money that the EDC gives out to other businesses, other entrepreneurs that are local to us, that I think people overlook. So, I'm equally as excited and ready for more information to come out. But I know that Garrett actually kind of put together, I would call it a one-sheeter, but I think it's actually about 3 pages of information that they can find on our website, bordertx.gov. They can just type in 828 Sports Complex, and it'll kind of give the rundown of how the city has responded so far to, 828, what processes they've gone through and all of that good stuff. So if people are interested in learning more about that, I would definitely check that out on the website. Again, it's bordertx.gov, or just reach out to the EDC. They'd be happy to kind of chat with you about what's going on.
Okay, what's something going on in Borger that residents might not know about but should?
Apparently everything.
Everything.
Because if I see another message that we don't have nothing going on and we don't do anything, I don't know what I'm going to do. Something I would encourage people to get more involved with and to kind of learn more about is our downtown revitalization project that we have going on. So Borger Main Street Project is a nonprofit that is formed by Nicole Chavez. She's our Main Street coordinator. She also handles the Dome. But she has formed a board for downtown revitalization. And so I'm privileged to be on that board. I'm excited about what we're doing, but we're really trying to work with not only the business owners, the property owners, but different, third parties to try to get on board to really get Main Street revitalized. There's something called oh my gosh, I'm going to lie to you. It's not the 3-step approach. Maybe it's like a 5-step approach. I'll have to double check on that, but it's through Main Street America, and essentially they break down a science to a successful Main Street and what really needs to happen. And you need an anchor business, you need a nightlife, you need a place where people can go and eat. So, we're working really hard on that, and we're trying to really drum up some different ideas and get funding. And so we invite everybody to come and be a part of it. We meet the 4th Monday of every month. And so you don't have to be on the board to come and meet. You can come and sit in there and ask questions and kind of just see what we're doing and just be a part of it.
That sounds very good. Just people need to follow everything. Well, we'll talk about you for a second. What's something people might be surprised to learn about you?
I don't know.
My surprise was you worked at a bank before you took basically a media public speaking job.
A lot of people actually say that, so we'll go with that. I've worked in corporate banking for 12 years prior to coming to the City of Borger. My background is in real estate, marketing, and finance, and so really with the bank, I didn't do much real estate other than at one point originated mortgage loans. But really, it was just mostly finance. I didn't do any marketing with the banks that I worked for. And I actually had to forego my real estate license because I originated mortgage loans. So, I did that for 12 years. I managed, oh my goodness, 4 different branches. And I had a blast doing it. It's what kind of stopped me from wanting to continue down that path is just everything's going digital. And so your ability to really make an impact as somebody's personal banker or their financial advisor, it's really hard to do so. The corporate banking world is taking things, like I said, more digital. So they're doing away with a lot of the staff. They're turning most procedures and most, means of banking into digital and using ATMs and robots and stuff. And so it really kind of limits what you're able to do for your clients and your customers.
Yeah, it could be like generating AI. Should we give this guy a loan? So-and-so. No, bad idea.
And really a lot of that was what I struggled with. The last bank I worked for wasn't corporate. It was more so, they were a pretty big bank, but it was more so kind of your mom and pop bank. There was a couple of different locations, but they started out in Perryton. And so that location that bank, you really got to be hands-on. You got to make decisions. It wasn't a computer generating what you should or shouldn't do. You got to actually use your brain on it. And so I loved that. But the bank that I worked before, it was very much, the computer doesn't like this. And so you would learn how to not necessarily manipulate it, but learn what trigger words the computer would catch on to. Like, for example, we had a guy applying for like a personal loan he wanted to build just kind of like a man shop outside, just a little man cave. And so he kept referring to it as a shop. And essentially, when you go and purchase it, that's kind of what they're pole barns, whatever. And so that's what we put it under. And of course, it's like declined because it wasn't a business loan. And it was just silly because it's like if you were talking to an actual underwriter, you could have explained that. So just things like that. But yeah, I did banking for quite a while, and I flip houses on the side. I haven't been able to do that in about a year or so. Just kind of the economy and the housing market and all of that lovely stuff. But somehow wound up in communications.
Well, this next question will involve a checkbook, basically. If you could implement one dream project for the city, no budget limits, what would it be?
Oh, it would definitely be, I would just wave my magic wand and completely revitalize all of Main Street. The history that's there, the buildings, just the stories that they tell. I'm big. I can't stand to see things dilapidate and just go downhill and not be repaired. It makes my heart hurt, and I don't know why. So just looking at some of the buildings, you know, I understand how they got there, but that would definitely be what I would hope for and ask for if I was given the blank check.
And basically what I've seen, I actually worked for the cement company 20 some years ago, and I actually poured some of that concrete when they pulled all the stoplights out on Main Street and put in the wheelchair accessible sidewalks.
Yeah.
And I was thinking this is a big deal because we used to drag Main, and they had these stoplights up and down Main Street, and they took them all out and put stop signs, and I remember feeling pretty good. I actually delivered cement to some of the City of Borger and got to pour some of that cement and everything, but that was like 2001, if that tell you how long ago that was. So a lot of history there in Borger and everything. Well, Deidra, thank you for the time and appreciate it very much, and wish you good luck moving forward, and let's hope not to see you on Facebook Live unless it's some good news.
I could not have said it better myself. I appreciate you reaching out to me and picking my brain for today.
Oh, that's just like I said. I seen you last year doing a lot of this, and I thought that's a very interesting person, somebody that everybody sees a lot but may not know about, and I thought it'd be an opportunity to get you on the podcast, let folks get to know you a little better and everything. So, well, that wraps up.
Sure.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Well,
I was just saying, that's about it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Deidra. Appreciate it. That wraps up another episode of the Hutchinson County Podcast. A big thank you to our sponsors, High Plains Observer, keeping you connected to the community that matters, and the Borger News Herald, your trusted source for local journalism in the Panhandle. For Deidra and myself, we are out of here.